Welcome to the first turn. I'm Hyena, and today, Llama and I are going through some of the recent tournament details for Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar. We talk about MetaWatch data and GT placings, and talk about how the seasonal updates are affecting the different armies at the top and bottom. We also talk about Marvel's Crisis Protocol, War Machine Mark IV, and Star Wars Shatterpoint, all of which are getting new releases soon. Enjoy.
I love admitting I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind it. Oh, you.
And that's where he disposed the body.
Yeah.
Yep. So, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah. So, what is there to talk about? There's some competitive news / results from things that we've been seeing for both 40k and Age of Sigmar. We know meta watches are always interesting to see what's going on because generally when you play in an area, you might have players who stick to the same army no matter what. I'm kind of in that boat where I like to try to make an army work even when it clearly doesn't. I like to try.
Yep.
And so when you go based on a local meta, the different armies perform better based on different players. It's nice to see the meta watches to see factions as a whole and how they're performing. And we've seen, we get one every couple weeks now, and one came out yesterday or today for 40k, which was interesting, right? See how some of the armies that were performing poorly pre General's Handbook / not General's Handbook, the other one,
Chapter Approved.
Yep. Were performing pretty poorly, and then now with these, campaign detachments and all the changes for points and whatever, it's kind of been flipped on its head. The armies that were doing really well now are doing very badly. The ones that were at the bottom of the barrel are doing very well, except maybe AdMech. They still can't do it.
I don't know how much more they can do to have them climb out of that. But
but Gene Stealer Cults is apparently up there in win rates after this whole reorganization of army building.
And they didn't get much in the way of like points changes.
I mean, I assume it's just through the sheer fact they have more slots of the things they want to bring.
Yep.
You've got they have the only ability in the game now to do like turn 1 deep strikes, I think,
or lots of turn 1 move shenanigans,
that kind of thing, which they've toned down. Lots of extra slots for elite characters, like we were saying before. Having those extra slots to bring more characters because they are very character heavy. I could see that really benefiting them. So, thinking about it, it's like, makes sense. The only one that makes sense right now is Dark Angels being up there.
Yeah.
Because they might have benefited the most from the Space Marine point changes. The ones where you get all war gear for free.
And they were already, of the chapters, they were the ones that provided the most benefits, I think, to like weapon-specific units. Mm-hmm. And now that all that stuff's like basically free.
Yeah. So you've got, Black Knights and their bikers with all free power weapons and plasma weapons and stuff, which is kind of nutty. Even their Terminators, anything that has inner circle, basically, is pretty great. I'm also not surprised by them doing so well.
But the update that they gave us to, and then we saw, before I get to that, towards the bottom, we're like, besides whatever army was dead last, it was like Tyranids and Necrons were now near the bottom, who were winning like crazy a few months ago.
It's very interesting. Those two armies got targeted with a lot of nerfs, both to their like objective game and to their points. Like I could see that those changes are probably effective at knocking them down. So, and then coupled with other armies going up. We were also talking about the fact that not much had happened to Gene Stealer Cults, but with the change, they would probably get better. And it's like, well, looks like it.
And by worse, at the same time, like the Tyranids and Necrons, while they fell, they're still in that mid to high 40s.
Yeah.
Like, they're not in the red yet, but that was quite a change. But then like Orcs are performing now.
Yep.
And they hadn't for a while.
Custodes was up there.
Yep.
They were down for a bit. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Ebb and flow of the game, I guess.
Yeah. And then AdMech sits in that middle bottom somewhere. Just can't. No matter how many times they try to help them. And then they did give us a nugget that they will be getting there will be a 40k, the data slate, the next one, is right after Adepticon.
Okay. Sweet. That's cool.
So hopefully they don't already have it written, and hopefully it'll be based on the tournament results of said Adepticon, but
We'll see.
We'll see.
We also got news of the 4th installment of the campaign, which is apparently a curveball.
The Arcs of Omen.
Xenos.
Part 4.
So while we thought that it was building up to some awesome reveal of maybe a new Primarch, nope. Farsight and Snickrot. It's like, okay.
Yep. And it's like...
Wild.
Those are fine.
Yep.
Neat looking models. Good plastic updates for them. But the story...
But like, how does it... Huh?
Tau and Orcs.
We go from assaulting the Rock, which should have had a big, fantastical conclusion,
yep,
to just like, let's just go somewhere else in the galaxy.
Tau versus Orcs.
Although I did read somewhere in the lore something with an ex-Dark Angel Chaos guy attacking the Rock, getting captured, and then during the assault from the Archifane, 2 prominent Dark Angels were liberated.
Oh.
So Chaos, Fallen were liberated. One of them was it your boy Luther?
Luther? Was it?
It said, I'm pretty sure I read something about that.
I didn't read the fluff, yeah.
Yeah, it was like 2 prominent Fallen were like released to have escaped from the Rock. So that's interesting. I think it was Luther. That was the one that the real traitor, right?
From way back in the day. Yeah.
So is he still alive?
That's what I wonder.
That's weird. Right?
If he's Chaos, maybe. But he was imprisoned on the Rock?
I thought. Okay. It was something along those lines. I have to go back and reread that article that I was looking at. But it was something like that, because they're like, but no one knows. Only Azrael knows. That was like the Azrael reveal.
The secret
article.
of the secret of the secret. Yeah.
And that's what that was talking about.
Which, so, more leaning into the idea that a new book for Dark Angels and perhaps Marines in general is on the way, is the fact that when they gave us the updated data sheet for Azrael with his fantastic new model, only thing that was different, +1 wound, +1 attack, +1 strength and damage on his weapon. All his special rules are identical. Everything else is identical. Nothing changed on him. So I have to imagine that we might see them get a new book at the start of whatever 10th or next season or something.
Could see it. So we had that. We have, like we said, the 2 new character models, Farsight and Snickrot coming out, which both look great.
Yep.
I'm not a huge fan. I have a Tau army. I'm not a huge fan of the Farsight Enclaves, but I might have to get that model anyway. I might have to get the Snickrot too, just because it looks great.
It does look great.
We have a buddy who
is Farsight getting new rules?
I assume he's getting new rules along with the model.
Okay.
I mean,
upgraded
rules.
It's supposed to be some new kind of armor, wasn't it?
It looks very different. Very different from his previous one. It's very, very unique for a commander.
It has all the backpack. So much, so many fins.
It's pretty funny. But we had a buddy who years ago won, I think, one of his golds in Golden Demon.
It was a bronze.
Oh, it was a bronze in Golden Demon off of his Snickrot.
Snickrot, yeah.
Yeah, so we really need him to repaint.
Gotta do
paint the new sculpted Snickrot and compare. Because, the competition has changed so much since then. Because, looking at them all, it's very good. Yep. But I don't think anyone would bat an eye at it nowadays.
Yeah, and that was circa, 2011-ish, North American Games Day. The standard that won then compared to what is required now, it's a different
beast.
Different ball game.
We also got some news about, for same kind of results from AOS. We had a meta watch for them, a couple weeks ago. Fairly large tournament happened this weekend. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a 48, 46, 47.
It's pretty big.
Tournament. So, reasonable size, reasonable sample set. The Meta Watch showed the new Slaves of Darkness book down there in the depths of Loserville, but
somehow
5-0'd this decent sized GT.
But then you'd pointed out that the other ones at that event didn't do so hot.
Yeah, so I think there were four slaves of represented there, and they all. If you assume that there was no mirror matches, right? So a win-loss washes because they both won and lost the same game. We were looking at a 55% win rate for slaves. Because it was 11 of the 20 games that those 4 players played, they won 11 of them total.
And 5 were one guy, though.
And 5 on one guy. So, like we saw before Tau got their update, there was a guy who was piloting a Tau list that was getting first place at all kinds of tournaments. That doesn't make the Tau army back then any good. Just because one guy figured out a way to play them that was good in that meta, it doesn't mean that, the faction's fine. One specific build was fine. played by one
and really
specific player.
piloted by one guy. Yeah,
And so like it's not, you can't draw conclusions from a top 3 or a win in a tournament, because then it's like, well, you don't know if that event's mission pack was standard. You don't know if terrain layouts were played set up the same way. You don't know if in the meta in this area was really weird. The kind of stuff that people like to play there was strange, and Slay's favored was played really well into it. It's a lot of factors you don't know.
And in second place was what seems to get second place at every AOS event, which is Stormcast Eternals. That's just all there's always one guy.
I mean, they were another army that on the Meta Watch weren't doing so well. But I think that's, again, through sheer fact that so many people play them. That you can't...
I think that's weighted.
Yeah.
I think, so many people play them, and if so many of them are finishing in that 50-50, that's a huge... For an army that's played... That's got to be the majority army in Age of Sigmar. Right. Then that they're not going to have great win rate, but they do frequently have top 8 finishers, top 4 finishers.
Absolutely.
Where Slaves, this came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Since their new books come out.
And the top 8 for this tournament, I think, was all 8 different things. You had a Flesh
There
Eater.
were 2 Stormcasts.
Okay, but you had a Flesh Eater Court in there. You had a Cruel Boys in there, which was surprising.
Yeah.
You had a Blades of Corn. I think that got third.
Yep.
But Archaon was.
It was Archaon plus
piece,
Corn. Yeah.
So. Can you count that?
Yeah.
So, it's fun to see though different things placing well.
And what was the slave list? Was it Cabalists again?
No, it was not. There was a Cabalists list that went like 3-2. The one we saw was Ravagers.
Ravagers.
I want to say it was it Ravagers? Is that what it's called? Ravagers.
Let me look here.
I remember like the basic
sub-faction Cabalists.
Was it Cabalists?
Grand strategy, follow the path to glory, triumph, inspired.
Okay.
Ran your Sorcerer Lord on foot, another Sorcerer Lord on foot, regular knights, but it was a huge unit.
Yeah.
They were and then one the Unmade and one Corvus Cabal.
Mm-hmm.
Then it ran a big block of Chosen, Mark of Corn everywhere, Varangard, Mark of Corn, and then a Soul Scream Bridge.
Wasn't one of them Mark of Nurgle?
The Knights.
The Knights were
Nurgle.
Okay.
Yep.
So Nurgle and Corn. Yeah, it's you basically no nonsense, all the punch. You have 3 big threats.
Yep.
Chosen Knights, which with their Lance ability, they get to fight in ranks, which is nice.
Yeah.
And then a big unit of Vanguard. Vanguard are insane.
Well, and the Stormcast guy who 5-0'd went against Ogres round 1, which is an army that we...
Well, we projected that they were going to do well, but I think that was the minute 1 nerf to them curbed any.
Could be, yeah.
Any, like I said,
it didn't seem like it was such a huge nerf, but it really.
It's a pretty big point increase.
Yeah.
And if no one is playing Underguts because it's no longer, you can't spam the Iron Blasters. It's 160 extra points to run those for you. You're paying for an extra Iron Blaster, not getting one. It's kind of hurts, but I think the minute 1 nerf kind of really hurt them. I still think
we had that problem with Leagues of Votann.
Yeah,
where on paper it was like, oh man, and then they got round 1 nerf. Yeah. They just.
But I think there still needs some tweaking there in the Ogres, because I think some stuff is still too expensive. Some stuff just for the points just doesn't do enough. Like their normal guts units of 6 is so expensive. There's like 260 points for a unit of 6, and you can't take a smaller unit than that. It's too many. It's too many points. It's prohibitive, is what it is. If you want to bring a unit of 6, you can already, just by reinforcing. But like requiring 6, it's rough. And then certain other things in there, like the Mournfangs, just hitting on 4s, it just hurts them so badly. They're like not worth their points hitting on 4s.
Right, they're priced like elite cavalry, right. but they don't hit like it.
They've got defensive abilities, they've got big damage on their great weapons, but they hit bad. They need either more swings or more rend, something to make the damage stick when they actually land those hits. Something.
And then now in the Stormcast, have you noticed, since they're all over every event, are they typically different lists? Do they have a variety of toys right now, or is there one that people are kind of?
Well, it's not like the same list, but it's a lot of the same stuff. This one that I think got number 2 actually had one of the named dragons, which is a very big surprise. It had Karazai the Scarred in it.
See the melee one?
Yes. Yeah, and so it was like, that's surprising. It was that it had
Yeah, he had Karazai, he had the Celston Prime.
Yeah.
He had a Lord Imperatant.
yeah, which is the character from the newest box.
His battle line was 9 Annihilators.
Yep.
Those are the Hammer Bros.
Yeah. So I assume we took the hammer and shield ones because they're so much cheaper.
They're 180.
You do not bring the two-handed hammers. They're 240 points for 3 guys. It's stupid. You don't do it. If you're going to do anything, you bring the 2 up save guys.
And then they brought 3 Raptors with crossbows, long strike.
Yep.
And then 3 Praetors.
Yeah, which is the bodyguards.
Okay.
So it's a weird list. I mean, the only thing I think you do is you alpha strike with the 3 units of Annihilators because they deal mortal wounds when they land when they show up, and then I think you end up being like a null deploy list. You drop down your Annihilators to do all the mortal wounds. You drop in your long strike crossbows to like be safe until you drop in and shoot, and then you have like a couple of big threats on the board. Karazai, you've got the Celston Prime still slaps.
Yeah,
he hits so hard for being a 8 wound guy. I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's enough models.
Yeah.
It's like a 15 model list.
In fact, a lot of those lists, or the 3 that we really got to look at there, were low model count. Because the Cornum was low model because 860 points were eaten up by 1 guy.
Well, he had Archeon, and it was Scarbrand.
Scarbrand, yeah.
That right there's 1,300 points. That's your list.
And then he ran mortals, just like Blood Warriors, and then some of the...
I think it was 4 units of the Reavers.
Yeah.
It's just all...
Pretty much it.
Just hero hammer.
Yeah.
Big monster hammer. It's interesting. I don't know. It's like that's what I'm saying. It's like that meta seems very weird because that's kind of what the lists look like.
Yeah.
We're like this. Bring a bunch of big threats. The Cruel Boys actually, I think, got carried. Probably did a lot of their heavy lifting with the. I think they had a Kronspire incarnate. In their list. Or was it the Flesh Eater Courts who got 3rd? Had a Kronspire. Either way, that's another model that's a generic. Big 500-point monster, basically, that anyone
that's
can
still
take.
Good, even though they nerfed it.
It's still super good. Yeah. So, we'll see. Yeah. We got our hands on the Caradron book, too.
Okay.
I have one waiting for me.
Nice.
So you pick up tomorrow. But I've already kind of read through the details of them.
The Balloon Boys?
I don't know how I feel about them. I think it's a net improvement, but a net reduction in power. Let's put it that way. Right? So I think the army is better, but I think they took the power out of the army a little bit. It's weaker, but it's a better army. I know, doesn't that sound weird?
But that's what slaves felt like too. So when they got their new book, it was like, well, the things that you used to spike on, they took away. So there's nothing that's that potent, but everything else in the army that was in the middle is a little better. Right.
And so it's like that with Caradrons. I like all of their ships better. Their ship prices are now 500 for the Ironclad, which it's funny that thing's been all over the place in terms of cost.
Yes, it has.
It's back up to 500 points now.
Yep.
The frigate is 300, and then the little ships are 170.
And you were talking about how they gave each of them different roles.
Absolutely. So the big ship is kind of like a gunboat. So you kind of want to sit still because there's like orders you can do and there's upgrades you can give it to make it just really, really good at shooting. Bonus shots and pluses to hit and all kinds of stuff you can do with them. It's just super cool. The frigate is an assault craft now. So you really want to be, if you're sending guys into combat, this is taking them there. So we'd like...
Gives them the speed they don't have.
Right. Yeah. It lets you disembark after charging, which is super cool. It does mortal wounds on the charge. There are, I think no matter how far you charge, the number of dice you roll is based on how wounded it is, which is neat. Because then there's command abilities to make them fight at full effectiveness, and then you can charge in and disembark, kind of thing. And then the little ships, I think might be the best they've ever been in terms of their speed, the amount of firepower they put out, and kind of just their general role. Because they are support craft as well. They kind of give the other ships a ward save. Yeah. 6 up, but it's a ward save. It's pretty decent at shooting now. They've given all the guns a different role. So before you had 3 or 4 main guns on the ships, and one was just clearly better. Right? That's just how it worked. Yep. You take the big cannon because it had 2 fire modes. You can either go cannonball mode or you can go shrapnel mode. And either one you did, it was about the same damage. And then you would take that over, because of the utility, over like the big drill cannon or the big skyhook or like the Gatling gun. Because why would you bring Gatling gun? I could take shrapnel mode on the other gun.
Yeah.
Why would I ever do that? And so like each gun now has its role. It has its like its preferred target. The big drill cannon now, it used to be either of those two cannons, the big cannon or that one, were like flat 6 damage. Well, now the big cannon is D3 plus 3 instead of being flat 6. And then the drill cannon is D6. So a lot more variance in the damage, but if you're choosing the right target, the drill cannon against monsters is flat 6 again. So it's like, okay, now this is the monster hunting gun.
Mm-hmm.
The skyhook just does has a chance of doing just big mortal wounds when you roll, or maybe I'm sorry. I think the drill cannon I was talking about is the sky harpoon. Never mind,
because it reminded us of the Castellan Imperial Knight with the big,
a little bit, the
harpoon.
The big monster hunting harpoon gun.
Yeah,
So it's like the big sky hook has a chance of doing mortal wounds, and it's big flat damage against monsters as it like reels them in and then lowers their ability to get away and stuff. Like it's kind of cool. And then so the different size ship, that main cannon, it operates kind of the same way. So big ship, you've got D3 plus 3 damage, 2 shots. Medium ship, it's D3 plus 2 damage, 2 shots. Little one, it's D3 plus 1 damage, 2 shots.
Scales
so
like town railguns,
right?
yeah.
And then each of the other fire modes is 6 shots at 2 damage, 5 shots at 2 damage, 4 shots at 2 damage. And so like it scales by size of ship again. But it all kind of averages out to be the same amount of damage. Different ranges, different rends, different hits, kind of thing. But the max damage on either mode of the gun is still the same. So it's like, okay, cool. So yeah, I like all of that. I like that there's more use cases for the different types of guns and special weapons in the units, which is cool. They flattened out how a lot of the abilities work, because now they're command abilities. You can't fly all your ships away every single turn, no matter what. A lot of their abilities on the ships require you to stay on the table and not fly away. Like their bombing runs, for example. You want to stay on the board and fly and like move.
And speaking purely speculatively, when they first came out in like mid second ed, I remember they were just a miserable experience for people going against them. And they didn't really do meta watch back then, but when they kind of did a version of that, they were showing like the armies that had the, not necessarily the highest win percentage, but that had gotten the most tournament wins and the most top 8s. And Caradron's had this silly, long, to the end of the world bar. And then the next one was like Disciples of Zinch, and it wasn't even close. And we found that our play experience mirrored that when some guys tested in the shop, and it was just like, you didn't even get to go if you were the other player. And so it felt truly like one of those leaf blower 40K list was playing in Age of Sigmar. And you had to think that there's nobody in that studio who got to play test that and was like, yep, this is fine. But I think maybe, this is why I say it's speculative, is that was still when they weren't sure how real of a game AOS was going to be.
Even in 3 years, 4 years in, they're still unsure.
Yeah, they still wanted it to be Fluffhammer.
Okay.
And and then we started to see end of second, like the book designs get more serious, I think.
Okay.
And that army they just didn't touch again. They just sort of like nerfed them with points or whatever for a while. And so this, you think, feels a lot more.
Yeah, it feels a lot better.
A lot more fleshed out.
Yeah. Well, and then
how's the new character guy though?
He's interesting.
The librarian.
So a lot of the power of the armies come from you selecting your 3 things at the beginning for your army, which is your article, your code, and your footnote.
You're formatting on a Microsoft Word page.
It's your 3 things, and each one gives you, and it's like 3 of each. Each one gives you a different benefit in the game. What this guy does is, the one weapon he's equipped with is called the Battle Tome. He lets
wonder what army he plays.
He lets you adjust your footnotes and your codes and stuff. So a lot of the codes and the footnotes are like once per game abilities. And so having him on there, you use your once per game thing and then switch to another useful one after you use your thing once.
Yeah.
Lets you like use multiple basically. And so I don't know if he's necessarily an auto include, but he's very good. Like he lets you do some cool stuff. One of the things with the fly away ability being a command ability means that you have to have the CP for it. But if you can't do it in combat, you can't actually escape from combat if you're too wounded as a ship, because you'd have to retreat and then fly away, because you can still fly away because it's at the end of the movement phase. even if you retreat, but you're still counted as retreating, so you couldn't shoot afterwards.
Mm.
There are one of the things is a once per game retreat and still shoot, like footnote. And so, like, technically once per game you could, if you got stuck in, retreat or use this footnote, retreat, fly away, land somewhere you wanted to, and then still shoot. So, like, there still has that kind of, but it's so limited now, you can't do it. Just every ship, every single turn.
Yeah, does that. And that was the issue, was every ship, every turn for free.
You literally couldn't tie them down. They were always flying and just getting away from you, and then still counting as not moving and shooting you. Yeah. It was miserable. It really was miserable. So it's better.
Good. And are the infantry any better?
No. I mean, yes and no.
Because, I mean, you've got an assault ship now, which with dudes that can pile out at the end.
I still want to say they're not much better. Like the Arcanauts, the guys with like the pistol and axe. I mean, they're basically the same. They get a thing where if they're trying to take an objective, they're +1 to hit. Just like, okay, you just get a free all-out attack, I guess. The Skyhook guys, the balloon guys, are all better, which is good. Especially with the guys with the pikes, the Skyhook little pike things, because they're all just flat damage 2 weapons. They went from being like 2 attacks at damage 1 to 3 attacks at damage 2.
Whoa!
So they're a lot.
So they're
better.
Elite. Yeah,
they're a lot better. But you don't have the ability for them to automatically embark on a ship for free. They can't just like hook onto a ship now. They count as part of the carry capacity of the ship.
Okay.
So
that's the balance.
Trade-off. So I mean, it's like I said, it's a lot of things kind of changed to make the army function the same. A lot of things changed, and then nothing changed. but it clarified a lot of things. It cleared a lot of things up. Like being in a ship doesn't count as being in a garrison anymore. It's a different mechanic. You know, like
it sounds almost like a 5-year high school reunion, where you go back to see everybody to see how much they've changed, and you realize they haven't changed at all.
A little bit,
but they may be a little different. Mm-hmm. But we saw their next release slate, which we were somehow wrong about. Well, so this is the episode about how wrong we are.
We were wrong about everything last week. So basically, we had forgotten that there were 2 Chaos books that were coming out.
Yep, we kept thinking Death were next.
Death's next, right? No. So I think we are. I think we had said though we're going to see the Death reveals at Adepticon though.
We did. Yeah.
Okay.
We thought Ossiarchs and.
But then we forgot that there was the reveal for the 2 books this weekend. Even though we talked about it, doesn't matter. The next 2 books are Book and a Hero for Khorne, Book and a Hero for Slaanesh. 2 characters that are interesting, but I don't know. Those armies just do better stats. I mean, they've got models for days.
And as long as they, I always want them to make more of the sub-factions in every army usable. Because what happens so many times is they make one that is clearly the matched play best one, and then the other sub-factions are for funsies.
Right.
And that's not always the case. Sometimes you get one where it's actually a tough choice. I think Gene Stealer Cults and 40K are one example of that. So hopefully that's the case in Khorne and Slaanesh too.
I think I like most of the sub-factions in most of the books that have come out for AOS. I really do. I think there are builds you can do around any and all of them.
And get somewhere.
That are pretty good. I mean, there's probably one that's a standout best. Like we said, Cabalists is probably the best Slaves one.
It's funny that the Slaves list that won, no Archaon. The Khorne list that performed, Archaon.
Yeah, still weird. Still doing that, huh?
It's gonna be one of those where no matter what GW comes up with, people are gonna find a way to do that.
So I don't even know if there was any kind of synergy you can do with Archaon anymore either, because
he just gets a mark,
in the last
right?
FAQ, he doesn't even benefit from his mark though. Like the last FAQ took a lot of that synergy away. You can't bring Coalition and allies and have them benefit from one. They need to be Blades of Khorne models,
which he's not. So
I wonder if it was being played wrong.
Was it another tournament that was still allowing some old fudge?
maybe people forgot. Maybe it was something where because they did so many of those FAQs / erratas and battle packs and stuff, maybe they the latest update took that back out accidentally and it became a thing again temporarily. I don't know. I thought they'd fixed all that.
But what else we saw in the release schedule was the Order one coming in like June. Mm-hmm. And that's got to be Seraphon, right?
It's got to be.
And I think that's a positive thing that it's not until June, because even though now we've seen a ton of the pretty models, I mean, I think that means that release is going to be really big.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, we also got another one, which was the old Star Master on Palanquin.
Yeah.
Which they had an old model for that. And
I forgot. I had to look it up.
Yep. Yeah, you saw the old one, right?
Yep.
Oof.
Yep.
It was bad. But the new one looks great.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like it should. Better. Like, it looks so good.
Yep.
I'm still hoping for, like I said, Croxagores is the only thing I really want.
Yeah.
That's the thing I really want.
I hope we get
plastic
monstrous infantry Croxagore.
I've whittled it down. That's my only hope is Croxagores.
Because all the rest of this is gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, they needed it, but it's just awesome.
Well,
I don't even play the army. It's like, yep, I'd paint that. Yep, I'd paint that. And there's probably a ton of Lizardmen people who've held on, who are going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And, like our suspicion, they might not be in the old world.
Yeah.
So this is for them. And then the death, we still think no Flesh Eater Courts. You think Osiarchs and...
I think they're going to get done dirty. I think Flesh Eater Corpse is going to get skipped. I do. Like, they're going to skip them, and they're going to go back and do vampires again.
Okay. Again,
I do.
Already.
It's like...
Which is already a new army.
It was a late 2nd edition book.
It was the last one.
But it was still... it still isn't a 3.0 book. So it does technically still need an update.
It does.
I think they're going to do that before...
Because that's when we got new Skellies, new...
Yeah.
What else did they give us? Black Knights? No,
we got the new, like, White King.
Yep.
Which is cool. We didn't get new Black Knights. Black Knights are still the same. We got the new Skeletons. We got the new Zombies.
That was it. Yeah.
Those two kits. Technically through the Cursed City.
Bunch of wolf characters.
They released the wolf characters. Right before that they did new Dire Wolves. They did new like Fell Bats and stuff through there.
Yep.
So most of the stuff there is plastic. I'm still
because they probably only have to hero and a book them.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I don't know. I think maybe. Well, so like vampires, yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, hero and a book because they got the new vampire infantry too through Warcry. But I think with Flesh Eater Courts, they need more attention than just a hero.
Oh
book,
yeah.
Which is why I think it's not next because it's too soon.
Well, I think their roster is lacking more so even than the Fire Slayers. Mm-hmm. I think, right? Fire Slayers need the same thing. They need the Seraphim treatment. They need an expansion of their roster.
Yeah. Not
a bunch of old models updated. Their models aren't old. They need they
just need more.
Yeah.
Because that's what Flesh Eaters do.
And Flesh Eater Courts
do too. It's ghouls. It's ghouls.
I spent a lot of time thinking about it.
It's big ghouls and it's flying ghouls. Big flying ghouls.
Yep.
That's it. That's their army.
Yep.
There's nothing else. I mean, yeah, you've got an Underworld's warband for them. You got, 8 characters. Shit, 8. Is that right? 9? Ghoul King, foot mounted.
Yeah,
but they're Arch Regent.
But as far as what's actually in their army, it's
the courtiers.
It's like three things.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and man, what a smack it is to like, hey, you wanna add this ghoul character to your army? We'll take one of your ghouls that you get
out of your box of 20.
Out of your box of 20. Now you have 19. Turn one to a character. You have an unusable number now.
Yep. It would be like if someone took a buddy's Leagues of Otan unit leader from them and painted it and put it on a display base so it couldn't be used in their squad of 10. Yep.
Wonder who did that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, that's where I think it's going. I think my hope is that Flesh Eater Courts are being held off because they need to get some releases.
Well, and if they really give them some love, like to match like the fluff they wrote for them too, like because that was a cool thing.
You think of, if you look at like their Underworld's warbands when they gave them character, they give them armor, they gave them some weapons, they gave them more than just like cannibals running around with bones. Yep. Like there's more to them than just being flesh eaters. Yeah. Duke Crackmarrow has is running around with a halberd. Yeah.
Ghouls, big ghouls, and flying ghouls. Yep, that's the whole army. Yeah, they need more. And maybe you're right. Maybe they're giving them a bunch of... Those two armies I'd really like in AOS love to see. Like Skaven, I should correct it. Skaven needs the Seraphim treatment. Where like 6...
It might need it the most.
Where like 6 old kits get updated, plus here's 4 new things. Yeah. And but like Fire Slayers and Flesh Eater Courts need the like Lumineth thing, where part 2 comes out and it doubles the army or more. Yeah. Like that's what they really need. Other than that, we're like... We're just in the breath before the con, which is both like an end and a start to a year for us most of the time. 2 weeks to the day, we will be there. It'll be day 1, although when everyone hears this, day 2.
We're getting there Wednesday, though.
We are.
So,
because there's actually a thing we're going to attend that night. A couple things.
Yeah. Wednesday might be our busiest day of Adepticon.
Yeah.
We've got the most scheduled the day we get there.
Yeah, we've got... all of us have different levels of badges, so that's going to be a mess. Some of us are attending I don't know if it's supposed to be hush-hush or not, but a content creators thing that we've been loosely invited to. And then we've got the GW preview event, and we somehow have to get our badges in between
we do all of that at the same time.
Yeah, from like 5 to 8 p.m.
Yep.
And eat, right? And then, and then it's not that night that our buddy has to do the grinder, is it? For Legion Worlds?
He's doing his Thursday. He's in the last chance qualifier.
Man, I hope he gets it.
It's a 2-day thing, and then it's a 2-day Worlds if he qualifies. So
he would have to play 4 days of nonsense. Yeah. I am hoping, and I don't know the game well enough, that he just picks the most skew. Because a grinder is different than like what you need for a long term. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, because grinding out that many games is it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It requires endurance. I mean, I don't know about you, but like when I go to a convention, I play a day, and I play like 4 games one day, and I'm like, man, I'd rather not stand for the last game.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I'm tired.
I'm okay if I lose this. Like you start to get to that mindset.
If I just walk away now, do you think my models will be here when I get back?
Yeah. Well, you do what you want for the next 5 turns. I'll come back.
Yeah, I'm done.
And that's something that takes practice. I know even just from like when I did Magic tournaments, it was like a part of the prepping was not just the matchups and the mechanics and getting familiar with your deck. You were trying to like build up the cardio more or less, the ability to like sit there for hours and hours and hours and not have your brain melt and not have your body break. So for this, where you're literally standing for so much of it, he's been getting the games in at least for that, but if he qualifies, that's going to be 4 straight days of just high level. But when I say a grinder is like different from a main event, it's like the people in the main event are ones who either qualified a long time ago, but they've got their list picked, they've play tested for that. That's going to be grind city. But like an actual grinder is a whole lot of like last chancers or people just having fun. And you need to build a different kind of list, I feel, for a qualifier than you do for a main event. It's like you kind of want to build the most skewy chance to blow your opponent out of the water in the first couple turns in a grinder and get your rounds over, because you have that possibility of playing for 4 straight days. So I don't know what his plan is for that. Hopefully he feels ready, because we are counting down.
Yeah.
It has been the longest wait for this Legion Worlds event ever.
It's what, 3 years? 3.5 years, I think.
The qualifiers were all like 2019. Yeah.
Insane. It's finally happened. I don't even know if anybody who qualified that long ago is still alive.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to show up and all of a sudden all these slots are just empty. Like, we thought there were like 300 people, or 200.
These people who don't play the game anymore. They didn't know that there was an actual world scheduled because they were so, they're out of the game at this point.
Yep.
It'd be funny.
Speaking of competition, we got a little more information about the Resin Beast.
Okay.
Actually, the information probably always existed. I just read it.
Okay.
And so you can enter as many categories as you want, but you can only win one.
Interesting. So how was that? So did they just take your best?
I don't know. But I think what they were trying... I've never heard of something like that before.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what the thought process is there.
You can place another, but you can't get prizes.
Right. Maybe that's it.
Maybe prizes get passed down.
That could be. That could be what it is.
That'd be interesting.
Because it sounds like a pretty chunky prize pool. And so that got me thinking, like, is there a way I can pound out 3 categories? And then it was like, well, you can, but it sounds like you can only win.
You just increase your chances of placing higher if you submit more.
And I think what they're trying, and I don't know if that means you can only get first place in one category, or you can only place at all in one category. That I didn't read that much on.
That seems like the logistics of that seems way too complicated to figure out.
And then you might have to purposefully, like, what if someone wins first in a category and they had another category that they were really good in, and then you have to say they weren't better, or whatever.
Or they get disqualified in that category because they won first, and the other one it's like no. To me, it makes sense where like you placed here, but the prizes get passed down to. Yep. If you've got one category where the top 3 have all already placed elsewhere,
Right.
then places 4, 5, and 6 get the prizes. For that category.
And I could see that. You know, it's like a qualifier. When you have people who are already qualified playing in the event, if they win, that qualifier gets passed down. So I wonder if it's like that. I heard some of the reasoning in the murmurings was they just didn't want a situation like you see at some events where one individual shows up and wins like 6 categories and takes home all the prizes.
Where you go to Gen Con and then Vince Venturella wins every single category.
Wins 3 airbrushes. Yeah.
It was really funny, but they should have thought about that.
Yeah.
Because he did. He cleaned up and he won 8 categories.
Well, and most of it, from what I could tell, was just stuff he'd already used for other things and just showed up
but it was
with these polished competition quality.
It was better than every other submission, which is like, yeah.
Yep.
But, think about that for next time.
Yeah. So it could be they were thinking about something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I know that the Resin Beast folks, at least
on the Creaturecaster
side, were there at that one.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they saw that and they're like, we ain't letting that happen again.
That could be exactly what it was. Yeah.
Like I think they saw that and they took note.
Because they picked the best so like Gen Con had their own categories, but then the companies like Creaturecaster chose what they felt was their favorite of their brand. Like so, and that could be what they're just trying to avoid is someone who's a ringer shows up and wins 5 categories and of their however many tens of thousands of dollars in payouts they're doing all goes to like one person.
Right.
Maybe that's so we'll see. Getting down to the wire and a couple of the pieces that I've thought about are coming along, but we'll see if they're done. Yeah. Are you entering that one? Resin Beast?
Looking at the model I was thinking about spinning and it's like I haven't worked on him. I haven't worked on it. I mean, like, if I had time, I'd do it. I don't know if I'm gonna.
You know, and we always every year are so motivated after the convention.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people experience burnout from a convention, and there's burnout in some things, like living out of a hotel bag or out of a suitcase, and but I'm always just hobby fervent after. Mm-hmm. And we always do that. We always pick and start immediately on new projects, and we're like so excited. We're not going to let this happen. Mm-hmm. We're going to get a bunch of stuff to 90 and be ready.
And it always happens.
Every single year it happens.
So my issue is that I let the same thing happen again too, where like my army's not done yet.
Yep.
And I'm like kind of scrabbling a little bit to get it painted and get it finished. And it's like it won't take much. But my issue that I'm running into is I pick up a model to get them all done because I've got like 50 models total in my army. Maybe not even that many, but it's a lot of flesh, which takes time. I can't just let something be tabletop okay anymore. I look at it, I'm like, if I can do better than that, I can't leave it there. And so what ends up happening is I pick up a model and I start doing some work on it, and then I don't put that model down for an hour. I keep going. I'm like, shit, I'm supposed to be assembly lining here, but I've spent an hour.
I can make this look so much better.
I've spent an hour with this one model, and it's like, well, shoot, now I waste all that time, Like just Monday, I was doing some painting and Tuesday too. But I picked the model up and I was painting her and I was like doing the eyes and I'm like, oh, I don't really care for how those eyes went. I got some overspill here. I was like, well, maybe I'll just turn it into like face paint. And so I started freehanding face paint on her face. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm assembly lining here. Stopping.
Yep.
Me?
That's but what that does do is like the better you get at stuff like that, the faster you get at being able to cheat on tabletop stuff. And so there could end up a long-term benefit to that.
I'm sure.
Just right now, you need to
and they look pretty good. Like most of them look pretty good so far, but they're not like I don't think maybe not even a single one is done.
Oh,
well, it's not 100%. I mean, if I were to throw on basing material and like tufts and stuff on their bases, I think several of them aren't finished now. Like my Demon Prince that it isn't even in my list, but it might appear. Like he's the most done model I have, and he's not even in the damn list.
Yeah, but there's a chance he could.
But right, exactly. So he's got to be finished too. So I'm handicapping myself by having to paint 1,500 points for a 1,000 point tournament.
Yep.
But yeah, it's fine. I'll have it done. It'll be fine.
I believe the kids today say, it's fine, I'm fine, it's fine.
Yep. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
It's good. What else is going on? We've got, Adepticon's a big one. Think about that a lot.
Because this upcoming weekend is some of the stuff we've talked about as far as releases, but I'm I don't know. We might have to make next weekend's show a little casual,
Mm-hmm.
just because we're getting ready for the event. We'll probably record while we're there, like we did last year, where we kind of got this all started. So yeah, I don't know.
Maybe we can do some video from next week,
and we're doing
or from Adepticon week,
and we're doing an extra after hours paint session this upcoming Monday.
Yep.
To try and get 3 total.
Everybody, try to get everybody done.
Because we painted this last Monday.
Yep.
We're going to paint next one, and we'll paint the Monday probably before the con.
A couple of things to note. Other games. Actually, that I was just thinking about. We've got a preview for the new Star Wars skirmish game at Adepticon.
Oh, right.
I want to check up on that. Because it's
Yeah.
doom and gloom, right?
Doom and gloom was the first impression of the internet.
It's the first impression. It's like, oh, well, this game is MCP plus Legion together. Well, it's going to kill both of those games. I think that's highly optimistic.
Right.
That one game is going to be so good, it's going to take the audience from 2 other games and kill the other 2. It's like, come on. It'll be a game for a different group of people.
Yep.
Did Kill Team kill Warhammer 40K? Gods no.
Right.
It's just a different thing. This new one, sounds a little bit like MCP. It's a little skirmishy like Legion, but it's smaller scale than Legion. It'll just be another game.
Yep.
It's a different scale of with the same kind of Star Wars models, more characterful, very much more limited. But we'll get more information on that at Adepticon, which I'm excited to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
I saw today that they've officially announced Mark IV War Machine launched.
Oh.
Although I thought they did that already before.
Okay.
But it's apparently now launched with their 3 factions.
3.
3 of them.
It's only 3.
So that's interesting, at the very least. Our MCP folks, I know there was something else going on with MCP. What was it? Is there something big happening after Adepticon with another like season pack?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
going on, new scenarios or something. They're still rolling out more characters for that too. I saw some play testing with the new Hulk, the
Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, Immortal Hulk, and apparently he is it's kind of ridiculous in the game. He's an expensive character. He's like 7 points, but he punches so hard, like to the point where it's like, he's 7 fighting 4 and 5 point characters, but he takes out a couple of them before he goes down. He will always make his points back.
Yeah. So the Immortal Hulk storyline, going a little Marvel nerd here.
Yep.
It was a not alternate universe story arc, but kinda. It was a horror one-ish, where the Hulk basically becomes it's either the one beneath all or the one below all. So like in the Marvel and DC mythos, there's this one above all, which is like their god, their deity, who's outside of everything. And then there's the opposite, which is, well, he sort of becomes the embodiment of that and gradually eats the entire universe, challenge by challenge. And it's immortal because like no matter what these other beings have tried to do to stop or kill him, he keeps coming back. Up to where it even ends that says something like 2 billion years in the future, he's in a parlay with the celestial center of existence, like almost congratulating him like the end of a video game, like, you've made it to the end of existence. Like, what do you want to be in the next creation of existence? And there's these characters who've become Galactus or something like that from one to the next, and he just like eats the guy. And it ends everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be possible, and that being is like, what? No, this isn't. And then yeah. So, but before he becomes that, there's the Immortal Hulk, who is OP. It's one of the crazier versions of him. So being a 7-point monster, and that's not that surprising, because that's what like Malekith and
2-stone Thanos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing is all kind of in that 7-point range.
Yeah. So yeah, and I thought the model looked sweet, really neat, hyper stylistic.
But it's also, we were saying that like.
But his legs were tiny.
Yeah, they were kind of tiny. But there's so many other characters they need to come out with to make new teams work. That like, why are you doing another Hulk?
Right.
Where it's like we were talking about, where's Abomination? Where is Red Hulk? Where's
the Fantastic Four?
Right. Right. Exactly. There's so many other things. It's like
where's Dr. Doom?
These aren't crazy characters that you're having to come up with. These are like core characters.
Yep.
The Immortal Hulk is a crazy character that you're whipping out.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, an alt-universe storyline.
Come back to the normal characters and release the more...
Where's Xavier? Where's...
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many X-Men that could be coming out. There's, like you said, the Fantastic Four and all their villains and stuff.
You've got Apocalypse and the Horsemen. You've got all of that.
Is there Silver Surfer?
Nope.
There's a lot of characters that it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Bring out the... Tone it back a little bit from the wild levels you're doing here and bring it back to the normal.
And I almost wish they would actually slow down how many characters they come out with, because it's starting to feel like when I played Marvel Strike Force, the gacha game, where there were like 5 or 6 characters a month, and then it's like they're giving the game no time to like breathe with its teams before here comes the next group of dudes. But I mean,
well, part of it is I don't think you're supposed to buy every single one, but that's what people are doing.
But people do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like they're trying to give a little bit to like everyone who likes the different affiliations, but people are like, well, there's so many good affiliations and I can splash characters. Yeah, I'm gonna get all of them.
And you know, it's funny how we do that to ourselves, because like we look at each model individually and they're not that expensive. You know, you get the 2-packs that are like $40, and so you just keep thinking like, oh, well, all I need is like 5 to 10 and I've got a roster complete. But no, you're buying everything. You're showing up with your tackle box full of, or your whatever box.
They come with like plastic totes and there's like 80 characters in a box.
Yeah.
Grab 10. It's like, calculate how much money's in that box, you know?
Miniatures are expensive, turns out, whether you buy them one at a time or boxes at a time. Like, but yeah, I suppose everybody keeps buying them, so they're just going to keep making them. And they do have 80 years or 90 years of whatever comics to go through and find even the most obscure characters, I suppose.
Well, they had that, I can't remember his name. The guy that only came with Beta Red Bill.
Oh.
That, like, Bugbear.
Yep.
Whatever that guy was.
I don't remember his name, but yeah.
I mean, that was obscure. That was weird. It's like, okay.
Well, and the Emma one came with 2 of her.
That's not the first time they've done that, though. That's like the 5th time they've done a 2 mode sort of character.
Because they had like the Ant-Man.
Yeah, the Ant-Mans and the Wasp. They did it with the big hand Ms. Marvel. She had 2 versions. They did it with there's like a Phantom Girl that has like a wild crazy hood.
Okay.
Hood.
Maybe.
Might be called Hood. But it's like normal, and then it's like demonic version Hood.
Right.
You had Tony Stark in Hulkbuster, had him, and then the ejected version.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, our Frost one's not that weird.
And I think the Emma Frost one is cool. It's a cool opportunity for the painter to really see what they can do with her ice form, her diamond form, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go all out with that. That could be crazy.
Try some crazy stuff and just say, oh, that's her whatever form. And yeah.
And then a new MODOK is coming out.
Another MODOK. Okay. Well, you can't do many things with his design, right?
Right.
He's a huge head.
He's just being a different pose. It's kind of like how they did the second Red Skull. They just had him in a more dynamic pose than just standing with the Tesseract.
And that second one's supposed to be really good, right?
Yeah. Because it can summon minions.
Yeah.
It summons Hydrangans.
Free models.
Yep.
Always good in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
MODOK's model reminds me of like one of those like grocery store chickens. Those like rotisserie chickens. Okay. Just this great big meaty sort of trapezoid shaped thing with these little limbs sticking out of it in a carton.
That'd be really gross is if you went and got a rotisserie chicken and it had the body contained in like the plastic packaging, but then had holes with the legs sticking out.
Yeah.
Dripping. Like.
Yep.
That'd be really gross.
I'd still eat it though.
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get one.
Speaking of, let's see.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed. Check out our new episodes every Friday on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Audible, or on Podbean. You can also follow myself and Llama on Instagram for more. We are at Hyena Paints Minis and at Llama Paints Minis. And as always, we'll catch you next time.